We'll start the webinar with a discussion on how to empower communities and the importance of reporting accurate information through campus journalism in the time of a pandemic. And I guess relevant po na sa atin lahat, no? How can we continue the work that we are doing as campus journalists, as community journalists, to report the news truthfully and accurately. Our first speaker to talk about that and also to talk about the challenges of learning and continuing learning online in the virtual setting is Director Jocelyn Andaya of the DepEd's Bureau of Curriculum Development. Among the many roles she plays in the department, Director Andaya her chief role is the head of curriculum development. So naturally, she is an innovator at heart, both as a public servant and as an education leader. So now also she's on her second term as president of the Association of DepEd Directors. So fighters, let's all welcome. Thumbs up po tayo dyan or palakpak emoji sa kay Director Jocelyn Andaya. Ma'am, welcome po.
Hi, good morning, Zach. Good morning, everyone. Especially the team of Fight. And good morning to all our campus journalists and school paper advisors. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, ma'am. Sige po. Would you like to tell us more about, well, maybe you can start off with just anything you want to show us or present to us?
Oh, okay. Well, this really is a challenging time for all of us, no? COVID-19 is a great equalizer because it has not spared anyone, which are poor, young or old, male or female, or any gender, from contracting the virus. And as Charles Dickens would say, this is the best of times, this is the worst of times. Worst because the COVID threat is still upon us, curtailing all our plans, changing the way we live, work, and have fun. And I note our campus journalists and our school paper advisors have canceled their trips to the beach. Remember, it's summertime, and hanging out in malls and bars and restos. I know that many of us have actually missed going out. Well, for others also, this is the best of times because we have rediscovered our hobbies. Okay, we have reconnected with family, and then we went back to the time when, we now have time for those that we have missed doing because of just work. And that's why, from my end as well, I'm trying to adapt to the new normal.
Right.
Being, I'm used to going to office to work. Now I have to work from home. And Zach, it's different when you work from home because it has blurred the line between work and rest. So wala nang, there's no more Saturday and Sunday or even, breaks.
Yes, apo.
It will work. All right. So that's it. And I know our campus journalists are somehow bored right now. And some of our campus advisors. And that's why it's important that we are able to do what we do best. At least for the campus journalists, and that's to write.
Well, we're very happy po that you can join us today, especially because we know you're very busy and we understand that there's so much work to be done as DepEd prepares now for this new normal when school will open much later this year than normal. Speaking po of the new normal, we hope that you can talk to us more about that later, but we'd like to show you po a video, a situation of teachers and students po sa Northern Samar, that, as we know, is now under a state of calamity and, of course, general community quarantine. So we'll just play a video, and then, of course, after the video, I'll ask you for a few questions about your reaction to this video.
Yeah.
Lakas na tumama dito sa Northern Samar. Simula nang nagkamalay ako, lahat ng bagyo dito na dumaan, yung bahay namin hindi man lang sira, sawa ng Diyos. Pero ngayon lang mismo yung nangyari sa bagyong Ambok. Tinangay yung mga bubong namin, pati yung bahay-bahayan namin dito, tangay lahat. Yung mga yero nagliliparan, as in talaga nakakatakot, lalo na kapag lumabas ka during bagyo. Zero visibility.
Sir, gaano po kalala ang iniwang pinsala sa inyong lugar?
Napakalawak ng sakop. At saka maraming mga bahay ang lumubog, lalo na dun sa mga mabababang lugar.
Sir, sa panahon ng pandemya, ano ang nakikita mong epekto ng pinsala sa inyong mga mag-aaral at sa inyong komunidad?
Yung mga naging epekto nitong bagyo dito sa amin is malala. Lalo na dito sa mga napektuhan talaga. Kasi naghihirap na nga kami dito. At saka nangailangan kami ng tulong. Kailangan namin makaahon sa aming araw-araw. Bilang isang guro na nadaanan ng bagyo at saka GC2 pa kami ngayon, medyo nababahala ako lalo na sa mga bata. Kasi yung paaralan dito, yung paaralan namin doon, nasira din dahil sa bagyong Ambo. So lalo na ngayon yan, mas mahirapan ang mga bata na makapag-aral kasi wala na akong classrooms.
I'd just like to ask now, how does DepEd intend to address the plight of teachers like Sir Francis? How does learning or communicating happen under this new normal?
Yeah. Thank you, Sag. Thank you, Teacher Francis, for showing that. Actually, that's what it means when you say we need to enhance our community engagement through campus journalism for bringing that front and center in the discussion, not just today, but that also in the discussion amongst DepEd officials as to what we need to do in order to respond to this event or this situation. The COVID-19 did not usher in the new normal. It has actually been here, especially these past several years because of the earthquake and pandemic. COVID-19 just made it hasten, and put it into, our reality, actually, because everyone is involved. Unlike in the past when there's just a certain segment of the population that's been affected by it. Now everyone's affected by it. Now, what is DepEd Teacher Francis doing as regards this one? In calamities or situations or even this pandemic, it's the DepEd DRRMC that's in charge, first and foremost, of ensuring that education will still take place despite all the things that are happening. And that's why if in your area there's really flooding, okay, the first thing to do is to evacuate. And I hope you've been evacuated already because you cannot live in that area where there's so much water there and it's unhealthy for the community. And then in that particular evacuation center, or what we call the TLS, there's a temporary learning space for everyone. And that's where education happens. We gather all the school children, we put in or bring in teachers who can teach them. We give them first and foremost psychosocial first aid. Okay, and then afterwards we give learning packets, modules that students can do whilst they are in that particular place. And then we also give emergency feeding program because we know that that's a basic need that we have to look into. And aside from that, from time to time, we do counseling as well. So these are the things that are happening in those areas where there's flooding, there's earthquake. And I will discuss more fully in a couple of minutes how we're going to do this in the pandemic phase.
Yes. Actually, ma'am, that leads me to my next question. No? Si Lizelle Katapang, teacher from Lumbang Elementary School in Lipa, asks, what is the system or plan for learning continuity of DepEd, especially during this ongoing pandemic na hindi pa natin nakikita kung hanggang kailan po yung katapusan ng pandemic po. Any
Yeah.
challenges and you know the teachers
Oo.
and students are facing or expected to deal with, and how do we face these challenges po?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a very important question that I know everyone is asking, from our campus journalists to our advisors and to all the several stakeholders.
Mm.
Uh, I'd like to show a couple of slides to everyone so you can best grasp what I'm talking about when I say that DepEd has been preparing for this. We've been busy trying to make sure that education happens. So let me, Zach, share some of the slides in my screen.
Yes, please go ahead po.
All right, can you see it now? Okay, so according to our secretary, education must continue. The children cannot wait. We need to find ways for learning to continue. There's been several researches that say if given 2 or 3 months when students are not in school or are not learning, then they lose 50% of the skills that they're supposed to, that they have already mastered. And that's why it's imperative that learning must continue. And how do we do that? The DepEd has presented to the interagency task force what it calls the Learning Continuity Plan. The Learning Continuity Plan is a response of DepEd to enable learners of basic education to continue learning and for teachers to be able to deliver instruction in a safe work and learning environment amid the threat of COVID-19. So what are the guiding principles of the Learning Continuity Plan? I think that our advisors, school paper advisors, should know this. Okay. Number one is that we need to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel, and prevent the further transmission of COVID-19. Ensure learning continuity through K-12 curriculum adjustments, alignment of learning materials, implementation of modalities, and provision of corresponding teacher and parent guardian training. And then facilitate the safe return of teaching and non-teaching personnel and learners to work in schools. Be sensitive to equity considerations and concerns, meaning that we do not just look at our regular students, we also look at those that have disabilities and who live really in far-flung communities and endeavor to address them as best we could. And then link and bridge our LCP to DepEd's pivot to quality education. We're saying that even in this pandemic, we do not lose sight of our goal to give to deliver quality education to our learners. All right, so Zach, can I move on to some of the concerns that we face as we continue to provide
Yes,
quality? All
Sige
right.
po.
How do you then provide for distance learning? Distance, because if we take a look at this Venn diagram, okay, there's what we call face-to-face interaction. That means that students go to school and learn from the teacher and learn from all the what's happening in the class. But that can only be done if the school in that area has been declared under general community quarantine. Okay, but if it's ECQ or MECQ, then just like what's happening in NCR, in perhaps some parts of Calabarzon and other areas, we only do distance learning. Distance meaning we are away, the learners are away from school, and therefore we need to do online learning. Okay, online distance learning, modular. They make use of modules, and then in some areas where there's really no connectivity, then we go for TV or radio and module. Now, under GCQ also, we do blended learning. Blended meaning there are times when students will go to school, okay, let's say twice a week, and then the other days will be spent doing online learning and using modules. Okay, so that's how this will pan out when we start schooling on August 24. Please take note that August 24 does not mean that learners will go to school physically. It's just the opening of classes. Depending on the risk severity factors, okay, then each school okay, in the community will have to decide whether to do blended learning or strictly distance learning. In any case, okay, what we need to do is to look at how we're ready for distance learning. Are we ready for distance learning? Okay, knowing that we need to look into the availability of devices, our access to internet. We need to train our teachers on using technology as an alternative mode of learning delivery. And then we need a close supervision of parents, especially in the early grade levels, like for instance, the kindergarten up to grade 3, where really the parents should be very much involved and will function as teachers in the home. And then we need also to look into the senior high school vocational track classes that require hands-on sessions in laboratories, and that we have already migrated all our system into cloud. Okay, so these are the plans of the Department of Education. Starting June 1, especially for our school paper advisors and teachers, okay, we'll start reporting. But the reporting to school does not mean physical reporting. It can also be virtual, where teachers will be given work to do, okay, to prepare for the August 24 opening of classes. Okay. What else? Since not everyone has internet connectivity, okay, if it is distance learning, then modules will be provided. So it's not all online, because we are aware of the fact that many of our students really do not have tablets, do not have laptops, do not even have cell phones.
Yes.
The modules will be available. And in the really far-flung areas, we will harness TV stations to show educational programs. In fact, I think DepEd will be tying up with IBC 13 and PTV4. These are government channels that can help us in delivering education in the far-flung areas.
Thank
and
you, ma'am.
Also, mobile phones as well, Zach. We can use that.
So I think it's interesting that you said blended learning, kasi nga yun yung challenges ngayon, that we have to adjust to different ways of learning, and also both for teachers and students, and of course yung mga school administrators natin, how to get the most and maximize the most out of different platforms, so that the learning continues, and even the parents and the families can really be involved in this learning journey ng students, diba?
We will also provide training also to some of our parents.
Of course.
They have not been trained to really, teach their children, especially as I said, the K to 3. It's really important that they sit down with their kids when doing this. But there's also another problem there, because many of our parents are actually working.
Yes, mahirap nga po yun.
That's why there should be a responsible adult, okay, in the house to guide our learners.
Yeah, hopefully po, I think we'll be able to solve that problem naman, I'm sure, with the family support system in place.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to turn over the question and answer portion to Abby, and also yung kasama po natin sila Atom and Voltaire, because we have questions about NSPC and of course from our online viewers, no. And I'll join everyone later on in the end. So marami po salamat, Director Andaya.
Thank
you. Abby, may question ka?
Yes, hi Doc Andaya. Meron po question from sa mga viewers natin ngayon, sa 2.9 viewers na natin. So, ito yung question is, DepEd earlier announced NSPC is going online this school year. A first for the annual gathering. Wow, yes, first time to, historical. So, can you describe how the virtual event will be conducted? So, kahit brief lang po siguro.
Yeah, I'd like to to be clear about this. To the extent possible, we will do online NSPC, but we have yet to iron out the details and mechanism for doing such, because, as you said, this is our first time, and we'd like to partner with Fight in order to deliver this one. We will have to grapple with several issues. Number one is about the integrity of the contest. How do we know that it's really the students? Who writing the article. Number two, that they're really the ones doing the school paper, even if it's online. And how will we hold simultaneous contests? Okay, these are just some of those because I've been telling our campus journalists and our school paper advisors, I do not want the credibility of the NSPC questioned because of some of these things that will happen if ever. So not during our watch. So yeah, we want to make sure that the integrity and credibility of the contest is protected at all times. So in other words, we do not have yet the mechanism, but in the coming days, we'll flesh this out and make sure that we have partners like you to support this endeavor.
Yes, thank you, Doc. So, I'm sure excited din kasi yung mga bata yung SPAs na kasama natin for NSPC. Ibang level ang NSPC. So, Atong, Sir Pots, baka meron din kayong questions or anything?
Yun, actually, hello, ma'am, I think ang concern ng maraming students ngayon yung blended learning, yung kung paanong mangyayari yun kasi may mga wala ngang access to technology. I heard that you said that may mga in-explore na tayong mga media tulad ng television. Meron po ba kayong rough estimate ng gaano karaming mga students ang kailangan maabot ng ganitong klaseng type ng learning? Gaano kalaki yung challenge na hinaharap ng DepEd pagdating sa susunod na mga buwan habang hindi pa talaga makakapasok lahat sa eskwelahan?
Yeah. Hi, Atom. Good morning.
Morning.
There are 28 million learners all over the country. And according to the survey conducted by Knowledge Channel, but that was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, 96% of households have televisions.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a very viable option for doing, for showing educational content in TV in partnership with local TV stations, of course. As regards internet connectivity, we're still gathering data because really there are, as I said, 28 million learners, but that according to the PIDS, Philippine Institute for Development Studies, it's around 19% to 24% that really have connectivity out of the 28 million that we're looking at. And that's really the challenge. And that's why, kasi it's been hyped that it's purely online learning. That's not really entirely correct because we will providing modules to our students. Regardless of whether you have internet connectivity or not, learning will continue because there are modules that will be distributed and will be used by our learners in the different grade levels. Plus TV, of course, and radio. In very far-flung areas, it's radio-based instruction. They listen to what's on the radio, and then they do their whatever instructions are given via the radio. And there are also times when we make use of mobile phones as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Meron pong, siguro hindi ko alam kung accurate na preconception na ang learning ay pinaka-effective kung ikaw ay merong kausap na tao or nasa classroom ka. I'm not sure if that's still the case. I mean, I can understand effective na maging nasa loob ng classroom. Maybe that's ideal. Pero meron na rin po ba kayong naging pag-aaral kung ang distance learning using television or using radio na essentially one-way communication, kung gaano po siya ka-effective sa mga estudyante para matuto sila?
Tom, at the moment, I can say, to my knowledge, wala pa. We're trying this out massively. Okay, di ba? But I agree with you that really face-to-face, the usual traditional classroom-based learning is really important. Okay? Even when, for instance, we've found a cure for COVID-19, okay, and people will say, we'll just like do online learning, okay. What we're going to say is that face-to-face will continue, okay. It will not be replaced by online learning. We're only doing this because of this COVID-19, but afterwards, it will be blended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sayang din kasi yung opportunity, ano, na baka we're stumbling upon something, a breakthrough. Kasi hindi rin lahat madaling nakakapunta sa eskwelahan under normal circumstances. Yeah.
Correct. But even with online learning, there's still interaction between teacher and student. Okay. It's just that it's difficult to manage it. That's why we're trying to also do capacity building to our teachers. Okay. How to do online instruction so that we do not lose that human contact even virtually. Okay. And that there's a mechanism that's been set up to monitor how we're doing online learning, what its effect to our learners, okay? And hopefully we'll be able to have that kind of data by the middle of the year, or December.
Walter, if you want to ask Andaya.
Okay, picking up from Atom's question, hello, Director Andaya. Concretely speaking, because I was talking to Teacher Francis during our interview with Fight for the video. Ang isa sa mga nakikita niyang, nabivisualize niyang solution at least sa community level nila, dahil in reality magkakilala naman yung mga teachers at community, families and parents. So, sa low risk areas, sabi niya, posibleng na yung mga teachers ay bumisita from time to time sa communities or sa bahay or sa clusters, neighborhood, to teach the students. Of course, this is not something that is institutionalized. So this could be an initiative of some teachers, but how could you support and help the teachers, train them, or perhaps provide incentives sa kanila sa mga ganitong initiatives? Kasi sa areas nila wala talagang internet.
Yeah.
So kahit signal. So talagang face-to-face, house-to-house ang possible. Is that something that you can explore for other areas?
Yeah, thank you, Voltaire. Actually, that's what we are telling the schools even. The policies that will be released will allow for flexibility, okay, to deliver instructions in schools. For instance, if they cannot do it in the classroom and there's a gym in that particular community that they can make use of, okay, they can do that. They can also do house to house if it's possible, or there's just a cluster in the barangay. Okay, they can actually gather in that one place to do instruction. In other words, what I'm trying to say is we give our schools flexibility to plan for these things, knowing that they are in the best position to determine what's best for the learners in their communities.
Okay. In addition to that, napansin namin, because we have a program called Barangay Hub and also reporters from home, yung aming mga reporters ay mga estudyante. Kahit hindi sa ilalim ng framework ng school dahil wala namang pasok, whether you ask them or not, request them or not, they will really produce content online. And then what we realized, what we observed, na maganda yung mga output nila. In fact, they are very prolific dahil nandun din naman sila sa internet. So what we do is to help polish their output and also provide context and guide them in producing stories from their communities. So how can DepEd help harness this potential of the students? Kasi trade na sila, ang gagaling na sa NSPC eh. So ngayong walang pasok, nagagamit nila yung mga skills nila outside sa actual world, kung saan pwede silang magkwento ng mga sitwasyon nila sa kanilang lugar.
Yeah. I hope that in their respective communities, well, if they have internet access, your reader is the world, right? Okay. But then you can actually bring up and write about what's happening in your community, especially the good practices that the barangay does in this pandemic, and share that with the world. Okay. But as regards a platform, we have what we call the DepEd Philippines, the website, has featured so many initiatives from not just our campus journalists, but also from our teachers, where they contribute to helping make the lives of others better. I think at this time that our writing skills are very much needed to inform the world, or even taking a video of a certain situation in the community. It helps inform everyone that this is what's happening and this is what we can do to help. Okay. The platform, well, they can have several platforms, right? They can do WordPress and all these things, but in the end, what we want is for our campus journalists to be critical, to be inquisitive, and to give correct information to the readers or the target audience.
Maraming salamat, Director Andaya. Abby, meron kang panghuling question before we wrap up our discussion?
Actually, na-touch nyo na lahat ng questions din from the viewers. So, thank you, Dr. Andaya, for answering those questions po.
Okay. Thank you for having me here, and I look forward to our partnership in the NSPC.
Yeah, looking forward.
Okay.
may parting shots? Party shots, Director Andaya, message sa mga students, sa mga teachers na nakikinig ngayon?
Oh yeah, oo nga pala, no? I think that even as you write, okay, you make sure that what you write is correct, fact-checked, okay, and that you write from the heart. No one should tell you what to write about, okay, but please keep in mind that this is the time when really your writing skills will be needed. Write about what's happening in your community, write about the truth. Don't just write because you want to at this time. Okay? There has to be a purpose, and that purpose is to help your community, your family, your school, the world. Sometimes I was told by some campus journalists that when they do their piece, they always say it takes courage to defy. So meaning you just want to write to defy certain norms. And I say, yeah, it takes courage, but defiance has to be tempered with correct information. Okay. It has to be, and you have to make sure that you write about what's true. Otherwise, we'll all be in hot waters. So keep writing, guys. Keep writing. And to the school paper advisors, please guide our journalists.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Jocelyn Andaya, DepEd's Bureau of Curriculum Development.
Good morning again.
Good morning. And thank you, Atom, for joining us. Zach?